Welcome, everybody, to the One to Go show. It is Pooka, and we are brought to you by Dirt Track Supply. Find the One to Go show on Snapchat. Find the One to Go show on Facebook. Find the One to Go show on TikTok. Find the One to Go show on podcast. Find the One to Go show on YouTube. And with that, we'll bring in the star of the show, Ryan Ale. Welcome, buddy. Episode 95. Wow.
I tell you what, man, I'm excited. We're getting closer, but what time of year is it? It's invite time, man. I'm jacked. It's my favorite time of year for dirt track racing. Probably my favorite time of year. It's kind of like, it feels like Christmas Eve, right? Coming into invitational season, kind of jacked up. But before we get to it, we got a tradition here. Number 95. Who do you got?
Former competitor of yours from down in southern Minnesota, Keith Foss. The orange.
Jeff said that. Jeff actually texted me that. He said, Keith Foss, he ran a mod a little bit here over in recent years too.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah.
Any memories of the orange 95 down there?
I remember seeing him in Arcadia a little bit. I think you were there one of the nights. And then I do remember I interviewed him one night, USA Nationals, I don't know, 05, 06. He showed up kind of randomly. Like I said, that kind of used to be the Festival of Late Models. Everybody showed up. And that was DTRA days. That was the Goodyear days, because I remember asking him some questions. How different was it? And he said, a little bit, whatever. But and then the Red Box. I didn't know what Red Box was. Remember his sponsor? Redbox.
I do.
Now there's a Redbox everywhere. At that place, like, what the hell is Redbox? What do you rent a video from a machine? What are you talking, like a pop machine? What are you talking about? Well, of course, now they're everywhere. There's no such thing as Blockbuster or any place you can walk in.
Blockbuster out, Redbox in. Redbox is going to be out with all these streaming platforms in. That's going to be fun. So, yeah, he hit the nail. I mean, he got in at the right time to get a sponsorship with them, though. That was pretty cool. He was kind of a throttle jockey, Pooka. He was kind of that hammered down. He wasn't a finesse guy. Let's put it that way. Pooka, I got two. I got a super stock. Okay. Now I want you to think about this for just a second. Number 95 super stock. I bet you can guess it.
I want to say Mike Rich, but we just went over Mike Rich, didn't we?
He was 81. Kevin Saline.
Oh,
His first car was number 95.
Way back.
Yeah, I think that's the year he started, 1995. Now, he's been doing it a long time. And again, a tip of the cap to Kevin Saline. First ever track championship this year over at the Hibbing Raceway in the Super Stocks. I've known him for a long time and actually drove a little bit for him one year. I ran his backup car a little bit. And he told me a couple times. Yeah, I ran when I was in the late model. I think I was in the late model. No, maybe I was in the mod. I think I was up into the mod, and I drove his car and drove it a handful of times. I think I can't remember, but I feel like I might have even won one in Hibbing, where I was right up in the top 3. It's a long time ago. I can't remember yesterday, but I do remember driving for him nonetheless. And lots of stories about Kevin. We'll save them for a whole nother episode. But I got one here that really sticks out. I'm surprised you didn't get this one. Ed Sanger.
Oh, yeah.
So a little history here behind Ed Sanger. So back in like the 80s and stuff, when we were kids, kind of you had, Sanger chassis, you had Howe chassis, you had them things. Well, Ed Sanger from Waterloo, Iowa, obviously he was a really good race car driver, but he built cars as well. Over 600 feature wins, 1974 World 100 winner. Yep. I don't know if you knew that.
I knew he had one world, yep.
And then, did you know he won in Hibbing?
Yeah, he won the Iron Man or whatever they call it.
Yeah, that's correct. The Iron Man Invitational. 3 times he won that. So maybe we'll have to put Mark Tremberth on this, because he's kind of the historian for the Hibbing Raceway, to see if he can put together a list of Ironman Invitational winners. That'd be pretty cool to see, but he won that. I saw pictures of him up at Thunder Bay. Remember the F1 car, the food and fuel car? I know Ron Jones drove it. A few people drove it at Cedar Lake, and Ron Jones drove that car one year, and I remember I give him crap because he lost to Chrissy Oliver. And Ed Sanger drove that car as well. And he was inducted into the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame in 2004. So if you're an old late model guy, Ed Sanger, I tell you, that's one for the record books right there. And, of course, you said brought to you by Dirt Track Supply. it's invitational time. Hopefully, knock on wood here. Hopefully we have tires. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But, hopefully you got your stuff. Hopefully you're all set up, ready to go for invite time. If you need work done, you need parts, you need service, you need anything, give Ron, give Trevor a call. Both of them over at Dirt Track Supply in Watertown. They service a lot of racetracks. They've been doing it a long time. Second to none service over there. Dirt Track Supply in Watertown. So what do you say, Pooka? Let's start with a donkey award. Let's just start right
I agree on this donkey award. Totally. 100%.
Mother Nature. What? WTF? Are you serious? Like, do you realize, other than a couple IMCA shows or non-sanctioned things, there was really no racing in Wisconsin all weekend? None. Okay. I think Luxembourg got it in. In Minnesota, they got Bemidji and I-94 and Granite City. That's it. Everything else canceled, right? I mean, there was more rainouts this year or this weekend for WISSOTA or our local racing than I think there has been in an entire month. It was crazy, all the rainouts. Now, that made my job easier this week, right? Getting ready for the power rankings because there's only like 8 shows, so that should be quick. I might even do something different on that one. So do we give Mother Nature a donkey award or is this like one of those things where you're like, got to give her a kudos, right? Because the tire shortage, a lot of people are like, you know what, going to stay home, save our tires for the specials. Do we give her a kudos on helping drivers save tires for invitational season? What weigh in on that? What do you think?
Well, not even just that. As the weekend was going on, and they started saying, I think Friday, Saturday, there was quite a bit of rain forecast for early part of this week up here, at least. I thought, well, let's rain it all out by Thursday. Then there'll be nothing left in the tank. We can go racing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So,
right.
There are a lot of ways to look at it. But it was. I had a wedding this weekend and going there raining, and it made me think, just like I said, we've been grinding away here because there just hasn't been rainouts. There just hasn't been a weekend like this in our area anyway. Or in northern Minnesota here. So it's like I said, Hibbings had 2 rain. Well, I guess they had the Enduro, so they had Enduro this weekend. I think they rained out the opener and now this weekend. I mean, there's been nothing. It's been an incredible summer, and like I said, hadn't really thought about how much of a grind it's been. It's like every, you and I and Bert, it's like every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it's like watch film, watch all the, all this streaming stuff because, there just hasn't been a weekend off.
No, there hasn't. And Grand Rapids was the same thing. They rained out opener and they rained out the season championships. Everything throughout the whole season was a go. So, basically, I mean, you guys had a drought up there. I mean, yeah. So we're pretty critical sometimes of track prep, but it's like, well, I mean, when it's a drought, I mean, I guess it's a little bit tougher to get moisture in the track, but moisture in the track now. They got a lot of moisture in the track. There was a couple races that probably had too much moisture in the track. Not their fault, that's just the way it works with weather. But I think it's kind of cool that they did rain out rolling into invite time, like you said, because a lot of fans, they were getting to the point where like they've gone to so many races, but now they're like, you know what? We had a week off. Let's get back to her. Let's get the invite time. So it's kind of nice to kind of pull back and go forward with that deal. So donkey award or maybe an assist, not really sure, but Mother Nature definitely capitalized. So let's take a look back at the national events from this week. Lucas Oil, again, they got another rain out, right? They must have more rainouts nationally than all the other series combined. They have had a lot of rainouts. But
and diesel shortage, and the weekend of the diesel shortage.
Yes, and tires. We'll talk about that in a minute too.
Yeah.
But you watched, I know you watched over at Port Royal. What stuck out to you from the 2 nights that they did get in over at Port Royal?
Well, nothing too drastic. You had some of the local guys, the Eckerts, the Satterleys. I heard their name. They're up there again. Like I said, that's a tough track. That's a big half mile. I guess the biggest thing that sticks out of the week on their Facebook or one of the channels of Lucas, he said, we're just saying hi to our neighbors because there's all those houses right across on the backstretch. And they drove down and filmed them all. So we're just saying hi to the neighbors for our neighbors for the weekend, which I thought was pretty funny. But just kind of this, the who's who, same people. 36 cars I thought was a little light, being that there is so much late model presence there. And I know that, T-Mac's leaving with a 210-point lead. What were your thoughts? Like I said, nothing really stuck. I was kind of really waiting for that Saturday show, which of course rained out.
Right. Like you said, the locals run good there. I mean, the locals run good. Now, would you rather sprint cars or late models at Port Royal?
Oh, I'd rather sprint cars there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would too. Now, T-Mac, he's not a ton of wins, but this guy is just ultra consistent. And that's what it takes to win a championship, right? There's guys out there that win races, and then next thing you know, they get 18th and DNF and 9th and all this. T-Mac is solid. He's just consistent. He's always there. He pretty much stays out of trouble. That's going to win him a track champ or a national championship. I'm thinking Dave, my buddy Dave Dolchek. He has no feature wins, but he's ultra consistent. That's going to get him a track championship. But Hudson O'Neill, he parked in Victory Lane night one. He's been really good. These young guns have been really on it. And 20 RT, Ricky Thornton Jr., he got on the podium the first night. So not really eventful. Let's switch over. Let's go to the World of Outlaw late models. A little bit more action there. They were over on the quarter mile at Davenport. They had, I believe they had 3 nights of racing in. They did over there. What stuck out to you? There's a couple things that stuck out to me, and something that stuck out to our fans, because we have a fan question here too. But what stuck out to you over the weekend down in Davenport?
Well, the biggest thing was right away was the contrast. You look at the top list last week and kind of black, smooth, just, spinning the tires just a little bit. Then you had Davenport. Those cars were just flexing and you saw the speed they were carrying through. I didn't like the camera angle. The camera was kind of sitting there in one, which I found a little odd, but I suppose maybe that's more center when they're on the half mile. I don't know why, but that camera angle I just didn't care for. But some of the surprises, that were there. Race McCord, I know his father Mike from my time in Billings, Montana. Even Mars, I was a little bit surprised Mars was there. Moran coming all the way from Ohio when they were racing in Pennsylvania with the Lucas, and found out later he's got a trucking sponsor over there. Lance Matthews, one of the godfathers here in Missouri. Good to see him. Moyer Jr. pulled in. And then even Jake Tim. I guess I'm not really surprised Jake Tim. A guy I hadn't thought of as I was kind of thinking about like our picks and such. Jake Tim was just a guy that I didn't have in mind. 33 cars, again, I thought was a little light. I was thinking maybe more in that 40-ish area. So, yeah, I mean, obviously there's some, I'll let you kind of dig into some of the more detailed stuff, but that's just kind of a broad overview of kind of what I saw. We can dig into a little bit. What did you see?
Well, I was surprised a few more Lucas Oil MLR8 cars weren't there, right? Yeah. That kind of surprised me. I'm not sure where they were. Maybe it was a tire deal. I'm not really sure. Nobody really said. Moran, we'll talk more about him in just a little bit. I mean, just ultra impressive. 3 podiums, 2 wins, and a third. Just incredible. How about Boom Briggs?
Yeah.
In the final race on the podium, he got third. In all honesty, he's kind of been the laughing stock of the World of Outlaws. It's like, okay, who's going to cause the first caution? It's going to be Boom, right? He's just been a train wreck. He looked good. He had a really good run. Yep, B-Shep, right. So now I tell you, another guy that looked good, Bobby Pierce. Now we'll talk more about him in just a second, but he was on it. Now, if you look at it, the third night, it was Moran, Brian Shirley, and then Boom Briggs. So Boom Briggs was the highest finishing World of Outlaw car. And then you had Shepard, Pierce, Moran, Pierce, and then Frank Heckenass Jr. Yeah, right? So the World of Outlaw regulars, I mean, Rocket 1 was in Victory Lane one time, but that's the only time he was on the podium. So I guess when you only have 8 cars, it is what it is, right? So I had some people saying, man, are they pissing off more cars? Because let's get into this. We'll come back to a couple things. But our fan question of the week, of course, brought to you by Cowboy Up Racing. Shane Howell, who you watched it. He parked in Victory Lane back-to-back weeks. He won this week at the I-94 Sure Step Speedway. And I saw Facebook Live. He was super disappointed because if you remember, he was leading the points at Superior. Then he had engine issues. He had to borrow a car. So he fell back in points. And he's like, I just want to get up there, get a shot. And they canceled. And he didn't get to race the final night. And I talked to him and I said, man, I had a night like that. 2001, I was racing for a national championship, Pooka. I was on the outside pole on the last night of the year. The guy I was racing against for the national points didn't even make the feature. He had to go through a B, and they ended up snowing out. And it's like, I I had all year.
Oh yeah, that was the Race of Champions in
It
Superior,
was.
real late. Yes,
It was. And that one kind of stung. So I get it, but he still capitalized. He went to I-94, still parked in Victory Lane. But the question was this, okay? What are your thoughts on the final night, right? Because they took points from the first two nights to line up the heats for the finale. And then they had a fan, like a autograph session during the day, and a handful of drivers didn't show up. So the World of Outlaws says you don't show up to the autograph session, you go to the back of the pack of the heat, is what it is. And notable one in that, of course, was Ricky Weiss. You know, there was a few other guys, but he would have been the most notable. What is your thoughts on that deal?
Well, yeah. Before I say that, so I mean, I don't know what happened on Thursday because I didn't see the qualifying stuff. But Thursday, Friday, he was in B features both nights again. So Ricky's still in the struggle bus there. But as far as the T-shirt deal, you know, I guess if they're looking for fan engagement, it's what you have to do. I'm assuming I'm assuming that they're pretty cognizant of, even like the fans fund. They only want their drivers there for so long because they know they got to work on the car. So you're assuming World of Outlaws, it's, you know, kind of a limited time. You know, Cedar Lake does something like that, the USA Nationals too, where they kind of have the autograph. I mean, really forcing a guy though, that might be a little bit tough. I mean, most of the guys have like souvenir rigs anyway, so they kind of want to be there to sell more T-shirts and hats. Boy, if I had to side on the driver or World of Outlaws, it's tough. Maybe I'd slightly side with the World of Outlaws if they're trying to get that fan engagement, if they really think that's important, if that's what their surveys are saying, this is what's going to get more fans, is actually seeing the drivers, meeting the drivers, and I guess you got to get them up there. What do you think?
You know, I tend to agree. You know, I had a bunch of people message me and they're like, Donkey Award, World of Outlaws, Donkey Award. I'm like, okay, there's two sides and I don't know all the details. Okay. So what I know is this: he missed the autograph session. That's a fact. We know that. Another fact is he got put to the back of the heat for missing. Okay. Them are facts. Okay. Another thing that I heard, and I haven't been able to confirm, was they shot out a group text, you know, hey, it's time for the autograph session. And he wasn't in the group text, and they didn't have everybody in it, you know. So that was kind of his deal. Is like, hey, I didn't know about it. They texted everybody, I didn't get it. Now, I'm gonna call bullshit on that one. Okay, I am, because I'm gonna say this, that if it's a 3-day show, I'm gonna assume, and again, I could be totally wrong. I could be. Okay, it's happened before, believe it or not, right? But I would have to think that the drivers had a pretty good idea of when that autograph session was going to be. I don't think they just sprung it on them on that day and said, hey, we got an autograph session, get over here. Okay. And the story was, well, he was getting tires ready and he was working on the car. Okay. You're staying there. It's a 3-day show. You're not traveling anywhere, right? If you know you got to get stuff done, work on it some the night before. Them guys do anyway. We've been to World of Outlaw races and Lucas races. They're working on the stuff the night before. They got all day to get it done, right? It's not like he had to completely rebuild a whole entire race car. I'm sure there was stuff that needed to be done, and it sounds like he had some issues the night before. But my goodness, I mean, you got to plan for this stuff. And it's so vitally important right now. The one thing that set racing apart from every other sport out there was the fan participant interaction. Sure. And that's really, I don't want to say disappeared, but it's really significantly less today than it was 15, 20 years ago. You know, it's like not even close. And that's how you build them fan bases. And Ricky's a quiet guy. He don't, you know, you get a couple beers in him, he's not quite as quiet, right? He likes to whoop it up a little bit, but he's not your social butterfly. I'm not saying that he doesn't talk to people, but that's not his favorite thing in the world, is doing that. But it's necessary. Also, you got sponsors, right? You know, you got driving, you got all these sponsors on the car. They expect you to be at this. And, you know, and I get it. I've been there. I've been like, oh my God, I found something on the car. Like, crap. Like, this is a last minute deal and you're trying to get it ready. That may have happened. I don't know. Maybe he found something going through maintenance and he's like, oh my gosh, I got to get this done. I don't know all the details, but it's vitally important to get to them autograph sessions. I mean, like you said, that builds your fan base. That gets people in the seats. That sells you T-shirts. That's good for your sponsors. It's good for the sport. They do that for a reason. I'm going to side. I'm with you. I'm going to side with the World of Outlaws on this one. I don't have, like I said, I don't have 100% of all the facts. There's a couple things that we're missing here, maybe that would sway us another direction. But based on what we know, I think I gotta lean that way. I would have to say.
Well, and on the group text, there's 32 races into the year, whatever, for World of Outlaws. Do you think this is the first group text that they've sent? I mean, unless they included all the other drivers, I'm assuming if I was the series director, I'd have my regular guys that in my group text, and then I would have started a whole different text for all the other guys that you wanted to come to because you're racing that on Monday.
Yes, and I'm going to add one thing to this, okay, to where I'll side just a little bit with Ricky on this is if there's only X amount of drivers there. What was there, 32? Is that what there was? 33 cars. 33 drivers. And there was only a handful that weren't up there, okay? Why didn't the series director, and maybe they did, but why wouldn't the series director jump on a four-wheeler and drive over to these different cars that aren't up there and say, look, Ricky, you got to get up here. You're going to the back. Now, it doesn't sound like that happened. So,
sure.
I know like in Kimming, sometimes they do the redraw or they'll do the My Race Pass redraw for the Challenge Series, right? Well, if 5 of the 6 people redrawing are there, they'll drive on a wheeler or in a truck down to the person and pick them up and say, get up here, you got to redraw.
Right.
Do the same thing there. So they should have hopped on a wheeler, and maybe they did, but I don't think so. Why not hop on a wheeler, drive over to the cars and say, look, Ricky, look, whoever else it was, you got to get up. We need you up here for a little bit. I know you're busy, but, the rule is you go into the back. Now, the other thing is, was this a known deal? Okay, is this a rule they just sprung on them? Were they like, okay, they didn't show up, they're going to the back? Or was this something they were already aware of? Like, if we don't attend, we go to the back. So that's something I don't have those facts on. Right. If that was a World of Outlaw, we're going to spring this on you. Hey, I can dump you, I can spin you out, I can wreck you, I'm going to get my spot back, right? But if you
we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. So you can spin out anybody you want, right, and get your spot back. But if you miss the autograph session, you're going to the back. If you're late to staging, you're going to the back. So there's got to be.
Oh, that's a great point. Again, that is another great point.
So, and that'll lead us right into the next part. But I'm going to kind of change. I'm going to kind of go 50-50 on this one because, Ricky needed to be there. But what the hell was Casey Schulman doing, right? What's the series director doing? Get your ass down there and have your drivers back and say, hey, we need you up here. So there's got to be a little bit of give and take here. So I'm going to kind of rethink that just a little bit. So with that said, a little bit of drama again on night 3 in the big race. And Bobby Pierce was hella fast all weekend long. And, it was right towards the end of the race there, bam, right into the back of Chris Madden. Now, Chris Madden, right, has been a little bit volatile as of late. If you remember, he completely had a mental breakdown on Tyler Bruning at I-94, right? Yeah. And, literally 10 laps before that, he stuffs Bishop in the wall, and they didn't even wreck. Bruning just pinched him into the wall, and he's just flipping out on him. It's like, wow, right? And then Pierce dumps him, and then after the race, there was a little bit of controversy there. I want your take on the whole thing, and then I'll talk about I'll give my thoughts.
Well, Matt, and by the way, if you go to our YouTube page, we don't have the original incident, but we have the little slap Madden gave Pierce at the end of the race, and many of you discovered it. It has over 500 views already. But so go to the One to Go Show YouTube page, you'll see the little slap by Madden as a little revenge. So Madden's having a good, so we've talked about it. I mean, it's pretty much over now. Let me see here, I got some numbers here. Bishop's got a 178-point lead, but Madden was in, I think he was in second at the time, and they weren't far behind Moran, who was the eventual winner. This is Saturday. So points rate, So maybe this, he gets a win, gets some momentum. Maybe by the end of the year, he can still catch him. At this point, it's going to be virtually impossible. So Madden's got a lot on the line. And of course, Pierce running the top, real similar to the Turbo Tyler Erb incident, the USA Nationals, Pierce come in a little bit hot. I'm not a racer, so I don't know. I mean, to me, it was Pierce's fault. Now, Madden kept it going, and they did the blended caution for him. That World of Outlaw blended caution. I think he started about 6th, I would say, on that restart. There was only about, 4 or 5 laps to go, so it didn't really help. But if they had balls, it would have been Madden spot back, Pierce to the back. What do you think?
Well, 100%. Do I think Pierce intentionally dumped him? Well, no. Madden kind of come up just a little bit. He got into Pierce drives hard. I mean, there's no question. And we're critical of him. Like, he's not Bobby, not so, right? He's not the not so smooth operator. But I mean, he clearly got into him. I mean, he turned him around. I mean, it was obvious. And everything comes back to this bullshit no fault caution rule. It's an obvious call. Make the call, for God's sake. All you got to do is look at it and say 32 drove into 44, 44 spun, yellow flag out, 32 to the back. It's a simple deal. There's times, and there's been multiple times this year where we saw something that's like, I don't know, man. I watched it like 10 times, and I'm still not 100% sure who I called it on. That's different. But when it's an obvious call, put the guy to the back, okay? Now, at the end, you talked about he had a shot at the points. Now, if you remember, here's the deal. He wasn't quite as far back going into this race, and he still salvaged the night. I mean, he was right there within a spot or whatever of B-Chef, so it still worked out for him. But all the Midwest tracks are done. Now they're going back to his neck of the woods, right? They're going
this weekend. Is
going to, his track really, really good at, and B-Chef's B-Chef. He can be good anywhere, but really you're going to his home turf. So if he's in striking distance, that's where he's going to get it done, right? So at the end of the race, I don't know if that was an intentional slap or not. I watched that a couple times, and Pierce actually went off the track, right? And he come back on the track, and initially I'm like, he just doored him after the race. But then I watched it again, and I even talked to Jeff Krause about this. He's like, man, he goes, I don't know. I think he just come up on the track, and it just so, happened that Madden was the car that was there. I think if he came back on the track, anybody that was been there would have been contact getting into one after the race. Now, with that said, did Madden give him an extra poke? Did he see him? I don't know. But when you're driving into the corner and they're coming up off the banking, you can't really see that car. So I don't know if that was an intentional deal or not. I kind of like to play the controversy side and say he got him back. But did you see Bobby Pierce kind of apologized on Facebook?
Yeah.
Like he changed lanes. I got a lot of respect, and he, and he's right. He did change lanes. That's not false. I mean, he was running lower and he moved up the track, but he kind of took ownership of that deal, so I think he's trying to nip it in the butt so that there's not controversy is kind of what he's trying to do. And it's like, Bobby, that's no fun. We want some controversy here. I mean, come on, just say that he was in the way. What the hell?
Yeah.
But that was probably one of the most interesting things. I don't think the racing was, the first two nights were a little bit drier. The third night was more hammer down, and obviously you give me a hammer down track compared to a bone dry track, and it's going to be better every single time. And but Moran was impressive. I mean, he really was. He's been on a tear. Now, let's get to the World of Outlaw sprint cars. They had 3 shows. River City Speedway raced on Wednesday. They had that makeup show, and then they raced at I-80 and at the Black Hills. Did anything major stick out to you from the World of Outlaws?
Well, like I said, I was there on Wednesday. Like I said, I was going to go, and was it Sweet's night to win? Probably not. So to set the stage a little bit, Sheldon's been close there the last few years. Sheldon's good on short tracks. Sheldon's been hot. He's been back in the hot column. We call, you and I both, we all agreed, Bert, that, he's back in the hot column. Sheldon wins the Fast Dash. To give the interview, it kind of feels like his night. Macedo ended up leading most laps. There were a couple of rollovers. Seems like right when Sheldon would get ready to pass Macedo, there'd be a caution. So it was more situational, I think, that Sheldon ended up not leading the most laps. With about 5 to 7 to go, Sweet just took off, and he only led 3/4 of a lap. He passed Sheldon coming out of 2. Sheldon kind of got caught up with a lap car, a little bit pushed, and that's all she wrote. And it was incredible that Sweet was able to pull that off. Great time again in Grand Forks, absolutely jam-packed. Grandstands, and I'll let you talk about the sprints because I do want to get back to the NLRA portion too, because that was a great race too.
Yeah, the sprints, like you said, I think you kind of covered it there. Donnie Schatz, he's been on it. He's been really good ever since, what was it, the King's Royal? Is that what it was? Or no, the Knoxville National.
Knoxville,
just about got around Young Money at the end. But I mean, he's been good. I mean, he got another win Friday night, right? He won Friday. Let's see, I'm looking at this. Friday night, at I-80.
Right.
And he won, he dominated. I mean, he just absolutely killed him. And then he got second last night over at the Black Hill Speedway. So Donnie Schatz has been good, and Sheldon Hoddenchild, Carson Macedo, both on the podium all 3 nights as well. So fairly uneventful. I'll be honest, that race in the Black Hills last night was a snoozer. I mean, it just, and same thing with the one at I-80. I didn't think that was really exciting either. You know, Grand Forks is a quarter mile. Those 2 tracks are bigger. Well, we said it once, we said it 1,000 times. Give me a quarter mile over a big 3/8 or a half mile, 10 out of 10 times. Now, let's get into the NLRA deal, because the sprint car stuff, it was okay. All right, it was okay. And
they were the support class for the NLRA, clearly.
They were, but man, did they screw the NLRA. They just screwed them. First thing I'll say is I was pumped to see Chad Becker and Cole Searing make the trip.
Yes.
Okay, I was super happy to see that. Cole Searing ended up with a podium finish. He got 3rd in that deal. I think Becker got caught up in something. But, I mean, it was obvious, right, that World Racing Group, or I think it was SLS Promotions, was running that show, because they didn't give 2 shits about the late models, because they slimed it up, right, for the late models. Even in the heat race, I don't know if you remember, Searing spun out on the parade lap. Yes. Like they're doing a hot lap deal. Now, I've done that. Okay. So Pooka, at a World of Outlaw race, I was at Cedar Lake. They used to run Super Stocks and World of Outlaw sprints on Mondays.
Monday night, yep.
A Monday night show. And I'll never forget it. I was outside pole, and they did the same thing. They watered the hell out of it. They didn't care about the supers. It was slimy. And I was kind of packing it in, and I gas on it, and I spin out on top of 3 and 4 on the parade lap in front of everybody. I'm like, well, good thing there's nobody here, like 10,000 people or whatever. No big deal. I'm like, oh my God, right? And I went on to win that one, so I made up for
Redeemed yourself.
I did. And then Cole Searing did the same thing. Now, did you happen to hear, I don't know if I sent this to you or not.
Yes.
Did I? So in the background, the announcer, and I think it was somebody from World of Outlaws or somebody there, I couldn't pinpoint who it was, okay? But they left their mic on. And pardon my French, why are they fucking hot lapping? Just send them. Just go green. Yeah. It's like somebody should walk up in the booth and like punch that dude in the face, because these late models cost way too much to just send them on slime. Just send them. They did that half the night. I mean, they raced on slime. The feature for the NLRA late models, I'm watching it. I'm like, what is Edgington doing?
Yeah.
Then I texted Searing. I'm like, was it slime? He goes, the whole bottom half of the racetrack was slime. You couldn't even race on it. I'm like, and then Tom Corcoran posted on there. He's like, I like World of Outlaw sprints. It's great for the town, but I'm not interested in being the support class. And he said, now I know what the street stock guys feel like. Because that's what they get, and it's like, so I get it. He kind of made light of that. Like, well, usually we get the good track, and those street stocks, Midwest mods, they get the crappy stuff. Even I-94 many times this year, it's like, man, the racing's been good. And you watch the street stock feature, straight slime, right? It's like, so you kind of get screwed on that deal, but really a bad deal. I was disappointed because, that national championship implications on the line. The top 3 in national points were all there. They didn't even give them a racetrack to race on. I thought that was pretty uncool. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you look at the grandstands there, it was packed. I mean, elbows to assholes. And it wasn't for the NLRA late models. It was for the World of Outlaw sprint cars. And
remember, it was a Wednesday night, too. I mean, so your makeup date. And so we were kind of wondering what it would be like. And now they jammed him in there, and we were lucky enough to be top row. Now we were second to top row. People behind us did not show up, so we went up to the top row. We were able to stand, get a little leg room. That was kind of nice. But good night. And speaking of the track in Edgington, I did an interview with Edgington. So again, jump over the One to Go Show YouTube page. Talks a little about that line he was running. I did ask him about that. It was pretty unique. So just some closing thoughts there. Becker in the heat. So he started towards the back, had passed a couple of cars. All of a sudden I look, something happened. I don't know if it was by himself or was someone, because I think he ended up dead last in the heat or so, but he made headway in the feature. Schatz started about 15th and got about 4th.
right
in the future too. So he made a lot of headway. So it's again fun to see him too. I don't get to see him, but maybe once a year in that late model. And yeah, that's about it. Like, and then I was just going to mention too, after the whole weekend here, Casey Kane. So he jumps into that Roth Motorsports car for Aaron Reitzel. He's just been, as the old French word, he's been toilet. I mean, nothing. I mean, there's just nothing there. And I think he had one decent race, one of the qualifiers at Knoxville, but since then he's been kind of toilet.
Yeah, he ain't been very good. He's just kind of there, just kind of filling in the seat. Aaron Reitzel was light years faster than him. He was competitive. Casey Kane, not the guy. They're going to have to find a replacement. I don't think he's going to be the long-term fit. I think he'll probably ride out the end of the year. They'll find somebody that wants to win races. And he's never really impressed me when he ran with the World of Outlaws or anything. He's never really been that guy. He's had some good runs over his career, but, it's past his time anyway, so they're going to have to find somebody new. Another thing, that was not an NLRA point night.
Correct. That's right. Yeah. And I found that out there. I can't remember how I found that out, but I did find that out somehow, some way.
I think it was going to be. I think it was going to be, but Mike Reseth couldn't make it. They had some family issues that there's just no way he was going to be able to make that show. And they're like, well, in that short of notice, we can't decide a championship based on that because realistically, the WISSOTA rules, I'm surprised they allowed that, right? Because the WISSOTA rules, you're supposed to schedule a show 2 weeks out, and basically it canceled, and they said, we'll have a show on Wednesday. It didn't affect any of the national points anyway, but I was kind of surprised that they did that. Now, if somebody would have won, let's say Searing or Becker won, would they have challenged that, right? Would they have gone to WISSOTA and said, look, rules are rules. You can't do this, right? Because remember Ron Jones was a legend in the modifieds, right?
Of course.
Leo Burkhardt-Schmeier and
number 8 ball,
right? And I saw Leo a few times out at Jamestown. He was a good racer. But do you know how he won at least one of those national championships? If he didn't have a good weekend, he was tight with a couple of promoters. He might have even promoted a track. They would just randomly schedule a race like on a weekday, and they didn't care how many cars showed up. He'd go out there, get the race, get the points, right? And that's how the show points deal all changed, was because of that. And that's what changed the whole, hey, you got to schedule this X amount of time. It used to be a week, and then it was 2. You got to schedule it so that way you're not just like throwing shows together. I mean, and they've never done this, but, Broking's run the Grand Rapids Speedway, right? Well, let's say Johnny Broking was battling for a national championship. And, I mean, if that rule wasn't in place, they'd be like, well, hell, let's run on Tuesday. That didn't go. Let's run again Wednesday. Oh, let's run again
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday's tomorrow.
Yeah, what the hell? Let's just stack them all in here. It don't matter. If 4 cars show up, 110-point win, it's great. The rules are in place for a reason. Now, again, it didn't really matter because nobody got a win out of the deal that was chasing national points, but would there have been grounds for an appeal on that win if there would have been, if a national championship would have been decided by that race? Could that have been something that gone to an appeal process?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I thought. When I heard it wasn't a point show, I just thought, well, yeah, it's a Wednesday night, and they, that NLRA could be kind of spread out. And like I said, I was impressed with what they have, 25 late models.
Yeah.
And like I said, the crowd, I wasn't sure what it was going to be like. Weather was fine. But like I said, it's a Wednesday night. I mean, Grand Forks is like your main shopping hub. People come in on Friday and might spend the night, go to the mall, back to school shopping right now, that kind of thing. So Wednesday night, you're throwing darts a little bit. But getting back to your question, absolutely, yeah. If that's the rule, that's the rule. Like I said, if your chip is legal, you should be legal, right? And if you got to schedule 2 weeks out, you got to schedule 2 weeks out.
Exactly, and that was with no Canadian fans too. Remember, Grand Forks, they're only an hour and 15, maybe hour to the Canadian border. Well, that place was jam packed without the border open. So that was really good to see for the River City Speedway. I mean, and sprint car racing in general. I mean, the legendary bull ring up there. I mean, that's part of the schedule. That's one of the best shows on the schedule. So it's good that they got that in. So let's get into some more regional stuff here. Really, we talked about it. Most everything rained out, right? But the Granite City Motor Park, they had the structural buildings with sort of late model challenge series. And if you remember the first time, there was a little bit of drama, right? And this next time, he just can't get it. He just can't get nothing right over there. It's not his fault. I mean, it rained, and it was. I mean, he showed pictures. There was standing water, and it's one of those deals. You're damned if you do,
right?
You're damned if you don't. If you cancel and it's nice out, everybody's bitching. What the hell are you doing canceling the races? It's nice out. What's wrong with you? You're lazy. You just don't want to do any work. And then if they race, then you got the drivers going, "Oh, the track's a piece of crap," and you got some people on Facebook. Worst track I ever seen. Nobody's ever going back there. It's too rough. It's like they got how much rain in like 2 days? I mean, come on, and I've been critical. I've kind of picked on James Trantino a little bit, but I've been in that situation on the board, and he did the best. They graded it a pile of times. I mean, they tried to give him a good surface, and they did what they could. They got the race in, and at the end of it all, the X Factor, Jesse Glenn's another big win in the late models parked in Victory Lane. What was your thoughts on that race?
Like you said, real choppy. Just bounced it around. I mean, it's kind of fun to, as a fan, sometimes to watch. As they're coming out of the corner, you really respect the handling because that car just, the kind of the wobbling and such. But yeah, it was tough for a guy to really get in a groove. I think the only one that really did was Glanz. It seems like everyone else was trying things, or sometimes they got kicked up to the top when they didn't mean to, or they tried to stay smooth on the bottom, they got kicked up, or they entered high or whatever. So but yeah, like I said, I mean, considering the circumstance, I think they did a good job. Everyone knew what the weather was like everywhere else, so they did what they did. Like you said, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Looked like the crowd was decent, but from watching it, everything you could see from the crowd with Dirt Race Central looked like it was decent. So hopefully it was a successful night in that sense.
Yeah, a long night, but it's one of those deals. I mean, when you get that much moisture, I mean, they graded it. They said, I was told that when they were sheep's footing and stuff or whatever they were doing, I mean, things were going all the way down. I mean, there was so much moisture in that track. And it's one of those deals. You ever heard the term, right? And you've heard this. I'm sure you've heard this is, hey, I know the track's rodeo. It's a rough track. Just don't drive like a girl, right? You ever heard that? Okay. We can't use that anymore. We can't use that.
No, you can't.
Midwest Mod feature, 14-year-old Kennedy Swan. Dude, she's going into 9th grade.
Yeah.
Rodeo track, cowboy up, right? And she started 6th, and she drove by everybody, high, low, left them. She won on a rodeo track earlier this year at Red Cedar Speedway, too. And incidentally, speaking of the Red Cedar Speedway, this 14-year-old girl won the track championship at the Red Cedar Speedway.
Well, congratulations, Kennedy. That's great.
The 4th win of the year. So we can no longer use you're driving like a girl, because that girl just kicked the shit out of a whole bunch of dudes. So it just is what it is. I'm pretty impressed. I mean, you should jump on there and watch that race. And I really hope that they come up north. I don't know where they're going this weekend, but I'm telling you, I've not seen a 14-year-old, I don't care if it's a boy or girl, right? I don't care. Most of them don't have really good car control, right? They're inconsistent and do dumb things and whatever. Like this chick, right? She can flat out drive. I mean, she's got good car control, and I'm impressed. I mean, it takes a lot to really get me impressed, but I'm telling you, she can wheel a race car for sure.
Well, here, I was going to bring one more thing on Wazota late models here before we get going. Congratulations, Kennedy. I don't mean to overlook her. That's great. But I just thought of it. I was going to bring it up at the Grand Forks. So another question of the week. Being in Grand Forks, sitting there, Sites is coming up. Will Aaron Turnbull make it? Is he coming? Can he get across? I mean, what are you taking the over or the under on Aaron Turnbull finding a way to make it 3 in a row at the Sites in 2021?
Well, and 3 in a row, and actually 4 in a row for Team Canada, right? Because Weiss won at the one before that. I'm going to go with the over. I'm going to say that that's something that he puts on his calendar. He really hasn't ran the late model much, once or twice this year total.
Really? That's it.
Yeah, but I would look at it. I'm going to expect him to be there. I'm expect him to find a way. I don't know. I have not heard a thing if he is or not. But when you win 2 Sites Memorials in a row, you're hungry. You want to come back and get a third. Now, let's be honest, right? It's like I said, that's 3 in a row won by Team Canada, right?
Yeah.
Ricky Weiss. I'm telling you, whether he comes down or not, Shane Edgington is no joke.
I was going to say, yeah, he's got a shot just as good. Yeah,
he is. And so, I mean, could it be? Here's my question for you: is a United States driver ever going to win this race again? I mean, it's like Team Canada just absolutely dominating this thing. I don't know. What's your thoughts there?
Well, that you make a good point. And well, Balkan didn't come last year, did he? I mean, will he sneak across? He's got to be itching a race too, or maybe he's not. Maybe he's taking her easy now, but he's raced a lot of years. But you get Balkan down there. Edgington's already here. You throw a turn ball on the mix. Yeah, Team Canada's got a good shot.
They definitely
and
do.
If sending Ricky to the back of the heat for missing autograph sessions, you never know. He might be there.
Right? No,
that's the World 100. No, I checked that. He'll be at the World 100.
Yeah,
that's not World of Outlaws.
Yeah, unless they say his roll bar tubing's too thin or whatever.
Yeah,
right. Or I think it was too. I think the diameter was too small or whatever on the door.
And that's the year he came back. What was that 3-4 years ago? And he won everything. He came into boom, boom, boom all the way to Ashland. He won it all. It did not matter.
He did. Yeah. He can wheel a car. He's having a rough year. We picked on him a little bit, but he's definitely a race car driver. So let's get into our this is a topic that I'm super excited about. So Vernon Racing, Tyler Vernon's having a hell of a year in his Midwest Mod. They sponsored a ton of cars. We'll get into that as the Invitational rolls, but they're going to bring the Invitational season recap portion over the next month or so here. And what we're going to talk about now, because that's not a recap, we're getting into Invitational season, is let's preview the Invitational season, starting, of course, with Labor Day weekend, and then we'll do it each week. We're not going to preview the whole Invitational season. But obviously for us, Pooka, I mean, our big three, the Silver 1000, the Wasota Classic, the Labor Day Shootout. Let's talk a little bit about that, okay? I'm going to start with one thing on the Silver 1000. It's the 49th annual Silver 1000 at the Helberline Speedway in Proctor Thursday night. And the One to Go show, me, Pooka, and Bert put up some money, and we coordinated something. We're going to do a fan bonus. So if you're a race fan and you're wondering, should I go to the Silver 1000? Should I watch it online? Whatever, get to the track because we're throwing some money, right? We're going to match up 27 fans with drivers in the modified feature. As of right now, the winner, if you're matched up with the winner, you're going to walk away with $600 cash in your pocket. And then we're going to pay back, I think it's the top 5, a hard charger, last car on the lead lap, a couple different things in there. We'll talk more about that, after the event happened. But get over there because there's some money on the line for the race fans as well. But let's talk about our top memories. We're going to get into some predictions. We'll get into that. But this is a weekend for me, right, that has been just a big part of my life forever. I'm talking since I was a little kid, old enough to figure out what a race car even was, right? Labor Day weekend was the weekend. I want Pooka's favorite memory as a kid and then favorite memory as an adult from that weekend of racing.
Favorite memory as a kid would probably be my first one, which I remember calling out to the AO residents, and I think we were night racing there, but that's when I think you had to get to the pits early. So I think you were already with Dad. So your mom said, no problem, I'll pick you up at whatever, 5. I think they're still racing at 7. So my first Labor Day was 89, the night they shut them down. They shut them down and they let them get the feature in, and Nesbitt won that night. You and I were standing on the M West racing trailer in the pits because the races were over. So I got to go down to the pits. And that was one of the first years that the pits were on the back side where they are now. Remember, after pitting in the middle for such a long time. And I remember Larry Proctor's car. You're like, this is Larry Proctor's car was right there. And then we walked up on the M West trailer and watched a feature there. So that's probably my biggest memory as a kid. And then, of course, the 92 year with Auckland where there's a caution about 10 laps in. And I remember when, it was that water truck they had just a couple of years ago, that old trailer, and they had that arm on there. And I remember the way the wind was blowing, the track was black. But if somebody did go over the bank, and they got in, on the outside, they just fumed and dust and it blew into the stand. So whatever, half hour during intermission or whatever, they watered like crazy with that arm, but about a foot of that water was pouring onto the track. So a bunch of moisture got put onto the top of the track. And then, Auckland was, I don't know, 12th, 15th, whatever. And that was the first time I remember somebody being at the very top of the trapping hill, because you know where we used to sit there coming out of 4. I mean, he was right next to that guard. As a matter of fact, you heard rocks and stuff hitting the guardrail every time he came, because he made the most of the oval. He ovaled way out on that front stretch, right next to that guardrail, and run around. And so that was a memorable night, not just for me, but I know for many. Made a lot of Rick Auckland fans that night and sold a lot of T-shirts. So how about you? You've got dozens of memories, but you're going to have to
Speaking of the high side, do you remember Kenny Mann in the 2M? He charged from the B main on the high side. I think he got a flat leading that deal, but he did that one year in the late model 2, way up on the high side, just in a line nobody ran. As a kid, without question, I would say that my fondest memories were begging my parents, right, to, like, the night before, let's drive to every single hotel in Chisholm, Hibbing. I even tried to get them to go to Virginia, right? And we wanted to drive through every hotel, through the pit area, and see all the cars that were there, because back in the day, they were all on open trailers. So you'd be coming through and you'd see all these people from way out of town, that from Canada and from wherever, and you'd be like, man, this guy's here and that guy's here and this guy's here, and I didn't expect him. That's really cool. And then this is really dating us, Pooka. But I would beg my mom, right? And I'd do whatever I had to do, mow lawn, whatever, to go and get me a couple of rolls of film.
Oh, sure.
Right? So I wanted a couple rolls of film for the Labor Day shootout. And I was like super pumped if they were the 36 exposure, but 24 was kind of the standard thing. And if I got 2 rolls, man, I was super pumped. If I got 3 rolls, it was extremely rare. But if you remember back then, you took a picture with a camera, and then you're like, okay, I have no idea what it looks like. And then you'd go there the next week, get them developed, and you'd be like, what the hell? Like, half of them are garbage. The sun's in it, blurry and all that. Now everybody's got their iPhones and stuff, and everything's digital. Man, I wish there would have been digital stuff when we were kids, because I would have had 10 times the pictures that I have now. And I feel like I got quite a few of them back in the 80s. But that would be my childhood memories, taking pictures of the cars, going to the hotels, and seeing who's all there. That was a super cool deal. And then, man, as an adult, I'm kind of partial to my wins. I really, I got 7 Labor Day shootouts. My first one's probably one of my favorites. I'll never forget it. There's the moments in life where you have that certainty where you something's going to happen. And I'll never forget it. I was sitting on the front straightaway, and Al from Radco Iron and Supply sponsored me, sponsors Kevin Burdick right now. But I remember him sitting up there. It would have been getting into turn 1. I guess that would be the whole section of the grandstands. And him and I think Brittany and Levi were up there. And, and like he's giving me thumbs up on the yellow. And I look up and I just had an epiphany. Like, I just went like this. Like, whatever came across me, like, I know I'm winning this race. Like, I know I'm winning. And I've never really had that feeling other than that. I mean, there's some times where you're like, okay, I got a pretty good car, I'm going to win. But, like, I wasn't even leading yet. Dale Gangle was leading, and I'm like, this is over. Like, it's over. And I drove by Dale Gangle to get my first Labor Day shootout win. That was 1996.
I remember that race. It took forever, because once you got in front of, like, all right, where's the white flag? Where's the white flag? Where's the right flag? And you pulled away. So you were kind of in by yourself. Nice and smooth, I remember, but it was just like, it felt like the race took forever, because I'm waiting for the checkered flag, waiting for the white flag, and it just wasn't coming. Then finally. So, yeah, I remember that one vividly, too.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite memories. I mean, I double swept the shootout in 98. That was kind of a bad deal. Of course, Dan Claus, who passed away there. Yeah. So many memories. And I'm excited to get up there, to be honest with you, because we got the fenced-in area. I'm going to probably hang out with some folks down there during the heats. I'm going to jump up in the booth with you during the feature events and watch up there, just seeing all the people. And I just love that invitational atmosphere. But let's get to some bold picks, right? So we got 4 days of racing. Of course, it's the challenge with the structural buildings with Soda Late Model Challenge Series Championship weekend. There's 4 nights this weekend. It doesn't matter what class, okay? At the Silver 1000, they got mods at Lynx. At Grand Rapids, at the Wissota Classic, they got Lates mods, Supers, Midwest mods, Peters. And they have all the same classes at Hibbing plus Hornets in there. just give me a few bold predictions. What's coming to your mind? Who's going to win?
Okay. Yeah, and I want you fans also to comment, throw your picks in here a little bit too. And I'm going to save most of my picks because you and I, we're going to be on the microphone live. We're going to be doing some predictions at the race, so I'm going to save. But one person that I thought of today that we haven't talked about much this year that runs well in Hibbing, typically is there on Labor Day, is Dave Kane. We talked about him early. He had that incident, malfunctioning part / cheating / got caught / we don't really know. But, I haven't really heard his name. But there's a guy that, he knows it, whether, because those heat races, there's usually a lot of sun. And I've seen him start last and he qualifies. And I've seen him start first. And, of course, he pulls away. So there's a guy that I think hopefully he's going to show up that I think can do some damage. Chad Finkbone, I think, can do some damage in the Pures. If that's a bold prediction, that's very bold, Chad Finkbone. But in all seriousness, a dark horse guy that I think I'm not counting out yet to is Skeeter Esty. So, he's had I'd say an okay year in that modified, but he's got a lot of laps at Labor Day. So he knows a lot about the black. His dad has run a lot of races there. He'll be in the pits with him. So if I had to name even a dark horse, I might go with Skeeter Esty. So what do you got for some predictions?
Well, I'm going to start with the Silver 1000. Late models is up in the air. There's a lot of good ones. I'm not going to talk about that here today, okay? But the modifieds, a guy that's been on the top of the power rankings a lot this year, he usually makes a trip. He has some Silver 1000 wins. I think he's got at least one, Ashley Anderson. Yeah. He's going to be a guy to keep an eye on in that 81 modified up there Thursday night. Now, Friday night in Grand Rapids, there's national title implications on the line in multiple classes, right? Kierstock's Chad Finkbone and Corey Jorgensen are first and second. They'll both be there. They're racing for a national title. Of course, Chad Finkbone doesn't have one. He's looking for a national championship. Midwest Mods, Tyler Kittner's been really good, but Tyler Vernon he came up there this last week and kind of made him look silly. Jimmy Lockwood is another guy that come up and drove away from him. So Midwest Mods, everybody's thinking Tyler Kittner could be the guy, and I really would love to see Tyler win, but he's going to have to sharpen his pencil. I'm going to say he has something to prove, right? Because he's kind of beat up on everybody on all the regular shows, but he doesn't have that marquee win. So if there's a guy that needs a win, I would say Tyler Kittner needs to either win the Classic or the Shootout to really, up his season. He's had a hell of a season, but he needs to win. You're gonna see Kevin Burdick face off against Shane Zabrowski. They're tight. That's gonna be good. And I'm telling you, Burdick at Hibbing is pretty good. Burdick at Grand Rapids is crazy good. Like if Zabrowski can beat him at Grand Rapids, I'll be shocked. In Hibbing, you remember last year they had a hell of a race. Them two were side by side that entire, the second half of the feature there in Hibbing. They really put on a show. So that's going to be fun to watch there. In the late models, Derek Vessel. Derek Vessel, in my opinion, is going to win one of the days of the Labor Day Shootout. That has been my bold prediction for a little while now. It's easy to go with Pat Dorr. He's been hot. It's easy to go with some of these guys. But there's a local guy, Derek Vessel, 3 straight track championships over at the Hibbing Raceway. Keep an eye on that 16. I feel like he's going to win one this weekend.
And so close last year. So close.
Yes, very close. Like half a car. Now, there are some other invitationals going on this weekend. None of them matter because they're not our invitationals. No, I'm just kidding. So out in Aberdeen, and I still haven't found, they do such a terrible job marketing. Like literally nobody knows what the hell's going on. I've had multiple people say, is it 2 complete shows? Is it heats one day, features the next? There ain't nothing anywhere. They might have posted something today, but you'd think, coming into invitational season, post it online somewhere. There's nothing. Sure. So the Big Buck Nationals, now the late models out in Aberdeen, initially you'd think, man, you got Chad Becker, you have Cole Searing head to head, right? Now, They booted Cole Searing for the rest of the year from the Brown County Speedway. So
really?
Yeah, he can't go there. That ordeal that he had a few weeks ago, they called him up after the fact and said, yeah, you're not welcome back. He's like, what? So the question is, right, where are they going to go, right? Are they going to go there to the Brown County Speedway, or are they going to go west See, they got the East-West Clash out in Gillette. They got 3 shows. Now, Midwest Mod's got a makeup feature, national title implications on the line there with the Liker boys. But are they going to go there? I talked to Searing. I said, you need to come our way. You need to come to Grand Rapids, Hibbing, Proctor, come there. And he's like, well, I got the points deal, and it's tougher to win. I'm here to tell you, like, nothing against them guys out there. But when you come race against the Challenge Series group and that group that's going to be at those 4 races, it's a little bit different. Okay, it's a little bit tougher. So them are a couple big ones. There's a lot of other stuff going on. I know Vikings got a couple thousand to win super stock shows, and you can look on WISSOTA.org for the whole list of shows. But the big ones, of course, are the Silver 1000 in Proctor, the WISSOTA Classic in Grand Rapids, the Labor Day Shootout in Hibbing, the Big Buck Nationals in Aberdeen, and the East-West Clash out in Gillette. Them are the big ones. Like I said, nothing against the other shows, but them are the ones that you're really going to want to keep an eye on. So, with that said, let's get into some who's hot and who's not. Brought to you by
our friends right here, Blue Line Brews. We've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks. Like I said, there's people that I had it again last week, and we love the show, want to support the show. We don't own a business and don't do any, we don't have anything to advertise. You don't need to advertise. BlueLineBrews.com, BlueLineBrews.com, or just click down to the show notes, buy some really good brew. You can support the One to Go show, and remember, 10% of the profits from all of Blue Line Brews sales go back to the families who have had the unfortunate situation of having a fallen officer come from their home. So you're helping out families of fallen officers. You're helping out the One to Go show, showing your support. You're getting some great coffee. It's fantastic coffee. They'll ship it right to you, no problem. So BlueLineBrews.com, like I said, either type it in or just scroll down in the show notes there. You can click right over to the website.
Super cool cause. Super cool. Appreciate those guys a lot. And who do you have? Who's hot? Who do you got?
All right. Well, we talked to the aforementioned Devin Moran, a first, a third, and a first, $43,000-ish in winnings over the weekend. Not a bad haul. Like I said, probably was the right decision coming 3 states over there rather than just going 1 state over to Pennsylvania for the Ohio driver. And like I said, Cowboy Up Racing, he's got that Ford cranking. He's got it cranking just like Donnie Schatz's got that Ford cranking. So, we've talked about him a lot, this year, but I don't know if I've ever, actually had him in the hot group. So, a couple in a row there. And then, like I said, Donnie Schatz, a 4th, a 1st, and a 2nd. He's got that Ford Performance roll. And he did mention that wasn't after the Fargo race, that there was something different. They found something with the Ford. He said it was easier to drive the car now due to that new or revamped or whatever Ford engine. He thanked everyone back at Ford. So that's where I've got as my hot group. Who do you got?
Yeah, he's looking really good. I got Devin Moran too, and just to touch on that, he had a great weekend, but over his last 9, all 9 on the podium, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 5 wins, including a 30 grand to win, of course, at Davenport this past weekend. He had that 10 grand to win deal at West Virginia, 2 Summer Nationals races, won the 10K over at Davenport. So he ain't been off the podium in 9 straight races. That is ultra impressive for the 9. And then I have Cole Searing, your WISSOTA Late Model National Point Leader. Now, if you remember, a few weeks back, he got booted for 2 weeks for unsportsmanlike conduct, got into an altercation, screaming match, whatever. Questionable deal, okay? Literally, Pooka, we'll talk about this. We've seen people get punched. We've seen people drive through people. We've seen all kinds of things. He was literally yelling at somebody and got kicked out for 2 weeks. Bush League, Brown County Speedway, Donkey Award, complete bullshit. Right? Because, that's showing favoritism, right? Now, I wasn't there, so I don't know what was said, and I don't know all that, but, man, I've seen a whole lot worse. Yelling at somebody, I don't know, man. That's a little bit questionable to get kicked out of WISSOTA for 2 weeks. But ever since then, he's come back. He got 2 wins at Sheridan his first 2 nights back. Now, people are like, 6-car feature wins at Sheridan, big deal. It is a big deal because he beat Chad Becker both times. Yeah. Right? So that was a big deal. Then he got 5th at Huron. That didn't go very well. He got 3rd at Grand Forks, which was on a tough track. And then he got a 12-point win, a full car count win at the I-94 Sure Step Speedway Friday. And he got a full car count win last night at the Casino Speedway in Watertown, South Dakota. And he has stretched the gap. So Cole Searing, ever since coming back, he's been on it. He got 4 wins in his last 6 shows, and he's looking really good for the national title. And then I have Kevin Burdick. in August. 13 shows, 7 wins, 4 seconds, and he has the point lead by 10 going into invitational season, which is absolutely huge because him and Swarovski are going to be in a dogfight all year long, but he's been red hot as of late. So, who's not?
All right, the who's not? Josh Richards. Does he even race anymore? I mean, do you even hear his name? It's been, last year he was popping tires all the time. This year, maybe he ran out of tires. You just don't hear his name, just completely out of the conversation. Kyle Bronson has really cooled down after a great weekend at I-80, led the most laps at the USA Nationals. Really haven't heard anything from him. And then John Canta, I talked about him, I think, as far as being a little cold right after the USA Nationals, but started on the pole last night, ended up, I think, about 5th or 6th, if he even finished. It was getting pretty rough out there, but more for him, it just seems like the luck part. It just because even last night, I think he wanted to, there was a time when I saw him, he was trying to maneuver the car and he hit the rut and he bounced up and then guys got by him, so just kind of a tough season for the Sheriff. How about you? Who's cold?
Well, I got the nemesis to cold steering, Chad Becker. Right? You'd think with a 2-week lull there, and he traveled a little bit. He came up to Rapids and things just didn't go right. Not all of his own fault. He just had some bad luck, got caught up in some stuff, and literally has 1 win in the last 7 races. They were tied for the national point lead literally a week ago today. They were tied.
Wow.
He's now down by 29 points.
Ooh.
So he's really, I don't want to say he dropped the ball, but just things ain't gone well for him ever since. Maybe that's karma. I'm just saying. Maybe that's karma, right? Because he's from Aberdeen, and there's a little bit of the gossip in town over there is, well, they kick steering out so they can have the hometown guy win the title. I'm just saying that's the word on the street right now. Now, another guy I have, Lucas Rodin. He was hot. Now he's not really in contention for national title, but back-to-back DNFs this weekend. He had overheating issues, and he's going to have to be about perfect. This Midwest Mod national point race is ultra close, but that's all I got right now. I was really looking hard to try to find a couple. You had a good one there, of course, with Josh Richards. It don't get much colder than that. He's been absolutely non-existent, so I'll kind of piggyback on that one. So our picks from last week, Pooka, Bert got 1. Pete, who's been like in the doghouse all year, like he's been terrible. He got 2 this past weekend. He had shots in Moran, and then you got 1 right. You had Pooka, so that puts me at 22, Bert at 19, Jeff at 16, Keith at 11. Pooka, you're at 10, double digits, and Pete is only 1 behind you. And this week, Pooka, we're gonna pick. We got multiple races. We're gonna pick in Chris Madden country. We're gonna pick 3 World of Outlaw late model races. Cherokee. It's a Rock Galt Memorial, $40,000 to win. So that's a big one. And then Livonia, and then Bulls Gap Volunteer Speedway. 3 shows at, was it Skagit or Skagit?
Yeah, Skagit.
Yep. Up in Washington. 3 World of Outlaw sprint car races. Got a pair of Lucas Oil late model races, Portsmouth, and then the 53rd annual Hillbilly 100 at Tyler County. That's a cool one. And then, of course, we're going to pick the mods and lates at the Silver 1000. So, we'll have our picks on here. You can look at them. If you're watching online, you can check that out. But if you had to pick one, just one, out of any race, it could be the ones that we're going to pick or just anything in general. And don't go with Chad Finkbone at the Labor Day shootout. Because that's all right.
Why don't you go first on this one? You tell me. I want to know your sure bet.
My sure bet's Derek Vessel, Labor Day shootout. Derek Vessel's going to win one of the days. I'm telling you, that 16 has been really fast. He's due. He's extremely good there. It's probably going to be black. He's ultra patient. And I'm telling you, Derek Vessel's taking home one of the nights of the shootout this year.
I would love it. All right, I'm going with the Double One Express down at the Silver 1000. So excited that the Silver 1000 is back. Remember, last year they did the race over in Ashland, which was great too. But, to get the Silver 1000 back, that's always been like the big kickoff for the invitational season. But if I'm correct, Dorr won it last year. He got really hot this time of year. Who won the silver last year?
Massengill passed Mars coming up 4.
He was right there. Yeah, they were right there together. That's right. So I'm going to go with Pat Dorr. Like I said, a lot of laps there, a lot of experience there. So we're going to park the Double One Express in Victory Lane Thursday night.
I'm going to take the sure bet again to say Pat Dorr gets second all weekend because he's really good at getting second. he's got a lot of them this year. So the last lap brought to you by Zuli's Race Engines. Of course, very few racing, but very few races this weekend, but still a lot of wins. Willie Ferguson got it done at the Black Hill Speedway out in Rapid City, which the cool part of that, they had some pretty good competition there in the street stocks, but to win at a World of Outlaw sprint car race, so that way you have a national audience watching you, that's a pretty cool win. Matt Sparby won at the home of the Chicken Shack. Parker Anderson won at Granite City Motor Park. Pooka, that's 30 on the year for Parker Anderson, who is leading, which here's what's crazy, though. He's at 30 wins. And literally 2-3 weeks ago, we're like, there ain't nobody going to even get close to this dude on win counts. I think Burdick's at 28 or 29.
Wow. Okay.
So he might not end the season with the most feature wins. It looked like it was going to be just nobody was going to be close, but he's at 30, first one to 30. Aaron Blacklands, he won at the home of the Chicken Shack, and then Jaden Christ out in Jamestown. So, get a hold of Frank. If you're looking for a refresh over the winter, you're looking to get a new engine program, the numbers don't lie. There's winners every single week. Get a hold of them. They'll take good care of you.
Yeah, like you said, hardly any racing, but still lots of winners.
Absolutely. So the national points battles, we talked about it just briefly, and I'll just touch on it. In the WISSOTA late model division, Cole Searing went from tied a week ago today to a 29-point lead over Chad Becker. Now, they're throwing out some fairly low stuff, so a couple shows he can be right back into this. But Searing gets a couple more wins here. He can stretch that gap and make it almost unattainable. Searing has been.
So do you think Becker, if Searing goes to Gillette, does Becker need to follow him to Gillette? That's another question.
Has to. It kind of works both ways, right? I talked to some folks out there. I'm not going to give away my source, but it seems like they're kind of playing that cat and mouse deal, like watching to see where everybody's going. Oh, this person's going to Grand Forks, I got to go. It seems like they're playing that game out there, right? And the fact of the matter is, there's not a ton of racing left, at the end of the year here. The Labor Day weekend, they got multiple shows. And then from that point forward, they're few and far between. I don't think there's anything out there the following week. They got to go to the sites, right? Or they got to go to the Northern Nationals, one of them two. I don't know if there's Sheridan's got a doubleheader coming up at some point out there. They might head out to that. And then, of course, they got the WISSOTA 100. And then there's not a ton of races.
Yeah, it shuts down out there after that. Well, Jamestown.
But that's just one show,
yeah.
Right? That's no, I'm wrong. They changed that. It was 2 complete shows last year. But, man, it's been tough. Jamestown, they get so many cars, and unless they do something different with that racetrack, it's going to rubber up for the late models. So, I don't think either one of them are too excited to go to Jamestown. I don't know what else is running. I know Watertown has a doubleheader. They have the Autumn Classic out there. That's the week after the 100. And then Madison, but I think I-94 was talking about having something. I'm not sure. We'll have to kind of take a look at that. But Labor Day weekend is a big, big weekend for these two. And you're right on. If one goes, they probably want to race against each other, especially if you're Searing, because I feel like Searing's got Becker's number right now. So that one's tight. Now, in the Midwest mods, Tony Liker, he got another win. Now, he's only at 28 shows, right? He's not even in the top 10 listed in the WISSOTA Midwest mod standings. And people are like, oh, man, it's going to be Mike Nichols or Tyler Kittner. I'm here to tell you, Tony Liker, once he has 4 races this weekend, a makeup feature where he starts second row behind Troy, who's also been fast out there. And then they got the East-West Clash 3 features, and they get full car counts at all of them. He could very, very easily come out of this weekend as your national point leader, okay?
Sure.
Troy Liker, his brother, could come out in second. There is a legitimate chance that Tony and Troy could finish 1-2 in the WISSOTA Midwest Mod National standings. The main guy standing in their way, Lucas Rodin, rough weekend with a pair of DNFs, but he's the other guy. Mike Nichols is there, not quite enough wins. Tyler's got a bunch of wins, but the rest of his shows aren't quite as good, so he's kind of looking at that fifth or sixth place finish. He just doesn't travel enough to really make up any ground. But it's going to be interesting. This weekend is going to tell the story. Super Stocks, we talked about it. Kevin Burdick, another win. He won down at Granite City, 10-point lead over Sobraski. And they're both chucking seconds right now. Burdick only has 2 more second-place finishes to throw out. And then he's throwing out 110-point feature wins. Sobraski has 6 second-place finishes to throw out. Now, the deal is if he wins 2 of them, let's say he wins 2 of them this weekend, Sobraski, right? He with throwing out 107, he could be tied after 2 feature wins. And then he's throwing out 4 more second place finishes. Sobraski's not looking quite as bad as one might think right now, down by 10. But he's pretty comfortable in the mods. He's got like a 38-point lead. The battle in the mods, TPO, Tyler Peterson, he's 15 points ahead of the rookie. Brandon Kopp was put together a hell of a season, and he can gain 14 points with 1 win. That gap could close just like that too. So it's going to be an interesting weekend. This would be, I would say, the last weekend where you can get a lot of shows in, because Madison races on Monday too. So that's another show that they can get in. So this is a big weekend for the national point standings. I got a question for you on that, though. Should the national point season end at the WISSOTA 100?
Well, I'd have to think about that. I was thinking, by the way, TPO dominating performance Friday night at I-94 too, just a stud. I was thinking about in terms of the power rankings, and of course, you guys make sure all of you tune in to the BuyRaceShirts.com power rankings that are done every week by Ryan. Right here on Facebook or YouTube is the 2 places you're going to find those. And I was in that context, I was going to say this is the last regular season weekend of the BuyRaceShirts.com power rankings. This is it for the regular season. Now we're moving into the invitationals. I guess I kind of like that element. Like you said, it's forcing the hand to race at the big shows. Like I said, we talked about, boy, Sheridan's really gaining a lot with Searing and Becker for this national title. But, if they got to keep going out there, like you said, but yeah, like you said, it I don't know, maybe it separates the men from the boys just a little bit. You got to win in front of that big stage.
That's not true though. See, that's my point. Is when you get to this time of year, they're not all big shows. See, that my whole point is you get past WISSOTA 100 weekend, or even now, right? You have some big shows, but you also have the shows that are going to have the 15 cars, right? Because there's a lot of tracks racing. So I look at it this way, okay? So first of all, the WISSOTA 100, here's why I would like to see it end. It just makes sense, right? It's a WISSOTA 100. It's the championships. You crown the national champions at the WISSOTA 100. That'd just be a cool deal. It would add a whole different element. But invitationals should be about money, having fun, the excitement, the atmosphere. And when you get into the end of the year, a prime example right now is Cole Searing, right? Now, I would love, as a race fan, to see a quality late model guy like Cole Searing, Chad Becker, or any of them guys come over to the Silver, the Classic, and the Labor Day Shootout. But, and again, this wouldn't matter because this is before the 100, but we'll just use this as an example. It sucks, right, that they're going, well, we might go to Gillette. They got like 7 cars, okay? That's it. Eddie Kirchhoff is legit fast. He's won every single race out there. So beating him is not necessarily a gimme. He's good. Right. He's really good. Right. With that said, though, they go to Sheridan, they go to all this stuff, and neither one of them want to. I talked to Chad Becker about this. He's like, I don't want to chase all these podunk, 8-car races. But when you're racing for a $10,000 payday for a national title, it's like, I'm that close already. I kind of have to right now, right? Well, that sucks. I'd much rather see it where they say, look, yeah, I can go over here and race against 8 cars, which really ain't that much fun, or I can go race against 35 cars over here for more money. It's more fun. You're racing against better cars, more, it's just a whole better atmosphere. They lose that choice. So there's still a month of racing after the WISSOTA 100, right? You got the Punky, the Red Clay, you got the Fall Classic, you got the Topless, you got, the Can-Am Clash if it ever happens in Superior.
Yeah. Is that on the schedule again this year?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, Ogilvy, they just never stop. They just keep racing in Ogilvy.
They can almost go year round over there. But it takes, and I get it. That element is there. Like, you can't go there to get the national championship, but I think it's missing something on the atmosphere. I'd really like myself. I'd like, in a perfect world, right? I'd like to see the national point season end prior to Labor Day weekend, right? But I get it. Not everybody's coming to the Labor Day shootout or whatever. I mean, this is a big national point weekend. So at the end of it all, the WISSOTA 100, I think, would be a great way to cap off the national title season. And then from everything that point forward, hey, come join us at our racetrack. We're going to have a hell of a good time. We're going to pay some good money and kind of make them events. Because back in the day when we were kids, right, people weren't going to the red clay because of national points.
Right.
They went there because half of them went there because it was a big hell of a party. Right? That's why they went to the red clay. Got more stories about that when we talk about the red clay. And I think it needs to get back to that. So,
yeah, good point. Good point.
Did you see the breaking news on I-80?
I did. A cancellation. So for those of you, I can't remember the name of the race. You got the name of the race in front of you?
Yes, there was the Goal 50, which was going to be the day before the late model Knoxville Nationals.
Yeah, late model Knoxville Nationals for Lucas, and they canceled it due to the tire shortage. So, back in the news, the tire shortage, back in the news, we just can't get away from it.
So I got two questions there. Fan question of the week, another one from Jeff. He said, with Eldora coming up, they got that full week of racing. They got basically, they have back-to-back World 100s. With the tire shortage going on, would Eldora be better off just going back to one World 100 and just paying double this year?
No, you got to get to, you got to get the 50th and 51st in. You just got to, because obviously it was outside of their realm. When the state shuts you down, the state shuts you down. So I think you got to go. No, tire shortage, are any of them really short on tires? I don't know if they're so much worried about the Lucas guys. I think they're worried about the Malvern Bank guys that would come in and fill the field as far as not having the tires. I think that the Bronsons, the Marlars, if Overton were to come, the JDs, the Tim McCready's, I think they're probably doing okay on rubber because I think they've got rubber stacked up all year round, right? I mean, they probably all 100 tires.
Pierce posted something today looking for tires.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Or is this one of those deals where they're looking at it going, maybe it's a tire deal, but we're still a couple weeks out from this deal. I mean, who's to say they won't have tires by then, right? I mean, so it's kind of weird. Is there maybe another reason, and then they're just using this as kind of an excuse to cancel? I don't really know. The other, is this going to affect the WISSOTA invite season, right? Because basically no tires, barely any came in last week. This week, tires aren't supposed to come in till Thursday night or Friday. I know I talked to some vendors, and they're going to be at Hoosier Tire on Friday morning to pick up their load. It's still a big question mark how many tires are coming. Right? This tire deal is just really not been good.
Well, then the rumor I heard is WISSOTA's holding on to the tires. They're going to unleash a bunch for the 100. Of course, that's the rumor going around now, and it's like, well, I
will say this: I doubt. I highly doubt it because I'm in my mind, right? I'm thinking WISSOTA is a promoters organization, right? And it's basically governed by track promoters. I wouldn't think that they would be cutting the necks of the promoters, because there's been tracks that have been light on car count because the drivers didn't have tires and they were holding on to them. Prime example would be Jeff Tardy. He's like, I'm not racing the last couple of regular weeks because I got to have tires for Labor Day. Right. So I don't think. Now, I will say, if that did come out to be true, that there needs to be some people resign. That I will say that. But I'm going to say that I would like to think that there's just – I don't think that's valid. I've done a lot of digging on that. I haven't found anything that leans that direction. And another thing, and I'm not going to get into too much details here and all, there's a little bit of drama going on. I just want a public service announcement. Stay the hell out of other people's pits, okay? I don't care if you're a driver, if you're a photographer, if you're whoever, I don't care who you are. Don't go into people's pit areas causing problems because you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, you deserve everything that's coming. You go in flapping your jaws and putting your hands on people. I'm just here to tell you, like, expect not good to happen from that. And maybe down the road we'll be able to touch into a little bit what happened there. I'm kind of got to leave this alone for right now. There's a couple reasons behind that, but that's a public service announcement for invitationals. Stay out of other people's pits unless you feel really tough, okay? And if you don't feel really tough, yell from a distance or do whatever. Just don't go into other people's pits causing problems. So with that said, Pooka, that's episode 95 in the books. I mean, I'm just going to call you out. You're going to the silver, right?
As of right now, not going to the silver. We got to go through our must-see events. We got to go through the must-see events. Yeah,
we do. And I'm kind of have an idea of what it is. I think we can tie that right in with, but let's do that. We'll go to our must-see events brought to you by
L&M Radiator. I'm going to give you guys a little idea here of some of what they're looking for. We've talked about L&M Radiator, mesabi.com, mesabi.com. Again, we'll have in the show notes. Just scroll down. You can jump right over. So they're looking for part-time help and full-time help. Here are some of the positions they're looking to fill: machine operators, steel prep operators, CNC machinists, assemblers, welders. All welders are always at a premium at mesabi.com. Application engineer, drafters, quality assurance coordinator, and an HR talent assistant. So 30-ish openings, like I said, competitive wages, healthcare, dental, vision, life and disability, 401k, profit sharing, production bonuses, paid time off. Of course, there's some restrictions there as far as time. You have to build up some time. Holidays, uniforms provided, everything. Mesabi.com. Go check out L&M Radiator for your next career.
There you go, and it's right next to the Hibbing Raceway. So
right there.
Now's the time. Go to the Labor Day shootout. Stick around for a day. Go over there, get your interview, get a job.
Yeah,
Just a perfect trip to Hibbing, Minnesota. So, Pooka, number one, what are your must-see events of the week, and where are you going to be this weekend?
Yeah, so the silver, like I said, I'm excited that it's back in Proctor, getting going. So definitely excited about that. Grand Rapids, I'm excited. Remember last year, got the rain, rough track. Peterlin's coming, folded the nose under. I think, did Glenn's finish, or did Glenn's maybe break in that race? I remember Jay Kittner was your winner, but I'm excited to see it, because like I said, the track this year has been smooth and black. So I'm excited to see, like I said, it was like Batesville, like the topless. Like that's what you're going to get at, but racy, just like Batesville was, for the topless. So that's what we've been getting at the Downlinger Ford Grand Rapids Speedway. So I'm excited about that. And I am excited about the Big Buck Nationals. I really like Aberdeen. If all this stuff wasn't in my backyard, if I lived in St. Cloud, that might be something I would think about taking in. My experiences at Aberdeen have been a lot of fun. And so I'm looking forward to, seeing kind of what the results are out there. So where am I going? Why? Like I said, as of right now, I don't think I'm going to make the silver. See, the problem with these kids fall sports, I got games. I got kids games already. They start, because what they used to do, it's smart that they did it. But remember, even my years, they would play football games Friday or Labor Day weekend. Well, about, 10 years ago, they changed that. Everyone does Thursday, so you get the whole long weekend off. So I've got stuff going on with kids stuff. I'm on the road that day. So I don't think I'm going to make the silver, but of course, we'll be at Grand Rapids with you. We'll be Saturday in Hibbing with you. We'll be Sunday in Hibbing with you. So same question back at you. What you looking forward to and where you're going to be? I think I know the answer.
Yeah, it's just the whole Labor Day weekend swing for me. I mean, that's my must-see events. That's where I'm going to be Thursday night over at the Helverline Speedway, Proctor, Minnesota, the 49th annual, of course, Silver 1000, the longest running. I believe it's the longest running late model invitational held at the same track in a row. Or is it number two?
Them and the world are the same. Of course, now neither of them held last year, but yeah, as of a couple years, Troy Powers had posted that.
Okay.
Longest running at the same venue, the world and the silver, which is pretty damn cool.
That is cool. That's a long time running there. And that really kicks off, right, the invitational season. So I'll be there on Thursday night. Friday, of course, the Wissota Classic up at the Grand Rapids Speedway. Saturday and Sunday, the Labor Day Shootout. All four of those races, you want to get there. Of course, we talked about the Silver 1000. We got the fan bonus. You're going to have an opportunity to, you don't pay nothing. You literally just fill out your name and phone number coming in, and you're going to have a chance to win some money there. And then add on top of that, it's always better to be at the Invitational. I mean, let's face it, Invitational season it's an atmosphere. You want to be there. But if you can't be there, Dirt Race Central is carrying all the action. Watch DRC.TV, those 4 shows. That's my one bitch about Aberdeen, right? They got the Big Buck Nationals, the Brown County Speedway, right? You know, there's some good drivers out there. There's in all the classes, really, and they're not streamed on anything. They're stuck in.
Oh, really?
And no, it's ridiculous. Like, and it's all one. It is. It's, you know, it's like, Terry, let's get with the times, okay? I mean, it's not 1908. It's you know, it's 2021. Stream these things. And what he doesn't understand, okay, I'm just gonna whatever, okay, I'm just gonna call him out on this is, okay, and I get it, right? Because they have a good fan base on even weekly shows, and they want to keep their fan base coming in, and they don't want people to go, well, we'll stay home and watch it. I get that. And there is some truth to that, okay? But their drivers deserve to be seen, okay? When you got Chad Becker, Cole Searing, Trevor Nelson, you got Mike Stearns, you got Mike Nichols. I mean, you got national champion contenders, Kent Arment, right? You got all these guys. And you hear, how many times have you heard this from the Eastern folks? Well, I mean, they're out in South Dakota. They ain't as good as the Cedar Lake cars. We always have that Eastern bias. Well, that's the Dakotas. It's easier out there. I'm telling you, these are real race car drivers. These guys are really good everywhere they go, and they need that platform. Everybody else is getting seen and talked about. They don't even get seen. They get seen at Casino, and that place is awesome, by the way. They had really good racing there on Sunday. That was epic in all the events. But for the life of me, you got the Rumble, you got all this. You know, there are ways, Pooka, with the platform and with the programming, they can, if they chose to, set a mile radius, right? To where if you're within a certain mile radius of a zip code, you're blacked out and you have to go. They could do that if they wanted to, right? Or at least something like that. I'm sure there'd be a little work, but I know it can be done. I checked into it. But as a fan, like, I'm going to Hibbett. I'm going to Labor Day. I'm going to Grand Rapids. I would, just like you, I would love to see the action out there, but my God, like, no, we will see it because we'll jump onto, well, I'm assuming he's going to be there unless he goes to Gillette with Chad Becker, right? The Becker Racing, they film it. I think Trevor Nelson filmed some of it out there. So you got to look for a little live streaming on Facebook. But again, if they're live streaming on Facebook already, why not make a little something out of it and do it online? It's one of the few tracks that does not do any live streaming, and it really doesn't make any sense to me. So with that said, Pooka, I am jacked. I'm absolutely jacked to get up to the Labor Day shootout. You know, the other shows are great, but that's kind of home. That's been my hometown invitational for years. Excited to go up there, see a lot of people, have a lot of fun, and look forward to seeing you up there. And stay tuned. We're going to be doing a lot of coverage from those invitationals this weekend. So take us home, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely we are. And I was just thinking, so today's August 30th when we're recording. I was just looking back, July 30th, a month ago, and that was the night of the Twin 25s at Godin Class Speedway in Superior. And just, wow, we had a lot of races. We talked a little bit about the weather earlier where there just haven't been any cancellations. There's been fair races. There's been Crown Jewels. There's been Tri-State races. There's been Dirt Kings races. There's been the Knoxville Nationals. There's been all the Summer Nationals finishing up. There's been all the Crown Jewels that came through from PDC to I-80 and, of course, USA Nationals. And now we're going to start like another leg of that. Now it's like the intensity doesn't stop. It's just like ramp up here through the invitational season. So yeah, so just to wrap up the show here a little bit, find Bert, Ryan, and I on Facebook at Bert Lehman, at Ryan Hale, at Racer Pooka. Like I said, please comment, like, share. We appreciate that. Again, the buyraceshirts.com power rankings. This will be the last regular season version. So you can check that out. Our partners, as always, we like to thank them. Dirt Track Supply, L&M Radiator, buyraceshirts.com, RV Share, Cowboy Up Racing, Zuli's Race Engines, Blue Line Brews, and Vernon Racing. And by the way, Ryan, I forgot to bring this up. I hope to have it by the weekend, but our swag is supposed to be here. Some T-shirts, some hoodies. They're done. We're just kind of waiting on the UPS and the FedEx guy right now. So, big shout out to buyraceshirts.com for that. But the swag, so go ahead.
I have one more thing. We got to give Bert some love, right? He's going to be back here shortly. He just couldn't make it on. He had some other stuff going on. But when we were talking about number 95s, he actually shot us a text. And forgot. He said his favorite guy growing up, number 95, Roger Paul, the Flying Farmer. That he said he thinks he has a late model championship over at Shawano. His son Paul has an IMCA championship. So, Bert, we didn't forget about you. We got you in here, better late than never. But Roger Paul, the Flying Farmer, we'll have to post a picture of him up there.
Yeah, see if you can find that one. So, but yeah, anyway, so we'll have some swag. So if you can track down Ryan or I, but like I said, we're just going to be kind of doing drug deals with cash, selling it. We don't have a webpage. We're not credit card ready, but if you're looking for some swag, we'll have some of that. Or like the one to go show at gmail.com, the one to go show at gmail.com. You can kind of get hold of us that way. Maybe we can figure something out. Like I said at the top, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, podcast, find us there. And then again, YouTube, we got the interview with Edgington. We've got the little Madden Pierce little post-race slap there going on. So yeah, episode 95 in the books. That's about it. Like I said, Ryan, I really do look forward to seeing you this coming weekend. And we say it every week, get out there and be your dream, your tune to the One to Go show.